I guarantee that in this video there are going to be 3 tools that you've never seen before in another video about what tools vegetable gardeners need. Now, full disclosure, I am an ambassador for Gardena. I'm going to be showing a lot of the tools. They haven't asked me to make this video. These are just the tools they use, and so it's a reason why I'm an ambassador for them. So we're going to start with the longest tool, and that is a Tarmac rake. Not a normal garden rake, but a Tarmac rake. The reason why is that usually they're a little bit wider, they're much stronger. Like this is made for proper building work and moving concrete and tarmac. But this, because of its weight, makes it effortless for helping to just prep a nice tilth for your beds if you're doing any seed sowing. You can do it for like light weeding on a bed that might be empty. Of course, for spreading compost over, all of those kind of things. I've been using Tarmac rakes now for about 12 years and I love them. I don't need a garden rake, I just need a Tarmac rake. And the rake handle itself can be used as an additional tool because this is perfect for creating trenches to then direct sow seeds. Now the next tool is, of course, a spade. You can use a spade in many ways. You can use it like a shovel. But I also use it for a lot of the planting that I do. Here I've just lifted up this, there we go, this 4-hook giant chard, which I'm transplanting into the polytunnel, so it'll be a lot more productive over winter. But yeah, just a really strong, you want a proper strong sturdy spade. This one at the bottom, there's these kind of extra bits. That means if I'm doing a lot of tree planting work, I can get some good leverage. And I always like a spade with a bit of a point. It's a bit muddy, you can't really see it. Great for planting, great for emptying your compost bin. And I can also use it as a bit of a straight line to measure, to use then the rake to make nice lines to sow seeds into. So here I have some beautiful wood chip from willow that is broken down quite nicely, and I'm using this to mulch around some of the apple trees. And I am using the spade here as a shovel, so it's a multifunctional tool. And in front of me I've got the other tool, which is a wheelbarrow. However, the most important thing I've found over the years, especially being in quite a wet climate, is what kind of tyre does it have? So you can get the ones that are normal that you fill up with air. This here is a pneumatic tyre, so there's no air in it, which means that you don't get any punctures. Where we are here, there's a lot of spiky plants, particularly roses, where a normal wheelbarrow just won't kind of cut it and you'll get a puncture. And punctures are such a pain. So this just makes life so much easier. It works absolutely fine in wet conditions because it's quite a wide wheelbase, so it will help disperse the weight of the wheelbarrow. And the other thing is I just never have to worry about this tyre getting flat. So it gives me that peace of mind here in the garden to get on with all of the different jobs that I need to do. Next up is a big fork, and this is really useful for harvesting a lot of things, for weeding beds if they're very, very weedy. But here I've got some mash hewers. You want a strong fork that can take a bit of pivoting. Pivot! Ah. And there is a big carpet of tubers here. So yeah, forks are very useful, mainly for harvesting, but also for mixing material. If you're making, say, a compost bin, hot compost, anything like that, as well as you can even just use it as a bit of a rake. Okay, the next 2 tools are a little bit different, and I'm going to be inviting my colleague and co-author of How to Grow Food, Sam Cooper, to show these 2 tools. So I'll grab the camera.
Transition time.
Indeed. Hello.
Hello. Am I in frame?
You're grand.
Oh, I'm normally behind camera. Okay, so these next 2 tools are from the kitchen, which is my specialty. We have generally a knife. Now, it sounds really stupid to say it, but a knife is probably the most versatile tool you can have in the kitchen. And getting good with a knife can speed up your time spent on everything you're doing. So this in particular is actually a Japanese vegetable cleaver that was made for me by the company Tasky. So this is called a nakiri in Japanese. The reason I love this knife in particular, but you can use any knife as long as it's sharp, it's got a very sharp edge and it's perfectly designed for vegetable prep in particular. So it really helps me keep on top of the amount of produce, particularly in summer when we're harvesting a lot. But yeah, a good knife, particularly a well-made knife that will outlast you. You can have it pass on to your kids and probably their kids' as well, if you look after it, which is why this knife that made in collaboration with them has the date it was manufactured, because they're proud of it lasting that long. But sometimes if you've got a huge glut or you're not particularly fast and confident with a knife, you can use a mandolin, which this one is a bit odd and tired because I use it a huge amount. This is my mandolin. They do normally come with a handguard as well, which I recommend using because it just protects you from this mounted blade, which is up facing and your hand does move towards it. But I use this if we've got a glut of something like cabbage or radishes or whatever, even one daikon radish, and you want to adjust how thick you're cutting it. And it's also got other blades on it like that, so you can very quickly cut things into baton, so you can do julienne and do like more fine little kind of matchsticks from it. But yeah, this is a really quick way to just shred things if I'm doing like a big batch of sauerkraut or anything like that really. So yeah, you've got the mandolin, which if you're looking them up is spelled with an E on the end. Without the E, it's the musical instrument.
Yeah, that's how I used to spell it, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before as well. And then you have just a really good standard knife. And yeah, this is the Kiri vegetable cleaver.
Because the way that we think gardening finishes when the food's in your belly. It's all part of the one process growing food.
Definitely, yeah. So I would count these just as much as vegetable gardener tools as anything else we use out here. But don't use this in your garden.
So Sam will be back later with one other tool that you need. Now, he also mentioned that he for some reason, wouldn't use his knife in the garden. So you also need a garden knife, not just a kitchen knife, but a garden knife, just for a lot of little useful detail things like this. It's so sharp, just to help clear up all of the mess. This is called veggie cut or veg cut. From Gardena, and it's just very simple. It lives in a little holster, so I can carry it with me when I'm going around the garden. And in terms of harvesting, this is probably one of the most useful tools. Things like Chinese cabbage or pak choy, you want to get under and cut at the base, so you're leaving the roots in the ground. But also even just general things like pruning, cutting string when you're building structures. Just, you know what it's like, having a knife around is so useful in so many cases. Stubborn seed packets, anything. Next up is a pair of secateurs, which are just as useful as having a garden knife around, because you can use these for things like cutting string and everything, but the main thing is pruning. So here I'm pruning back some Korean mint, back closer to the base, ready for winter. You can use this for harvesting. And of course, in almost every vegetable garden, you're going to have more than just vegetables. You're going to have things like soft fruit, like blackcurrants, redcurrants, gooseberries that need pruning. I use as well secateurs for propagation if I'm wanting to go around and take cuttings. And they're just so small and agile. So for any kind of more detailed pruning, this is where the secateurs come in, where I want to make sure that I'm cutting the right plant and not the wrong plant. As well as a garden knife and a pair of secateurs, the other kind of tool that makes up a trio of the most used ones in the garden for me is a trowel. A trowel, it's so useful. If you're planting lots of things, you're going to need to use a trowel, particularly if you're transplanting from larger pots. Now for individual modules, you can just, smaller modules, make a hole with your hand and fill it in. But a trowel, it's so useful. You can also use it for seed sowing and a little bit of harvesting as well, but it's small and easy to lose. I often find this hidden between other vegetables, but super useful. Shears are amazing for just clearing anything, chopping and dropping, anything, especially around this time of year, autumn, spring, brilliant. You can do a bit of topiary pruning as well, but the main way that I use them is for harvesting biomass. For example, here, we've got comfrey that's growing. Now, this has already had 3 to 4 cuts of comfrey using shears that I then put into a bucket and I chop up more, and then I create a very nice comfrey liquid feed that I can then use to help supplement the rest of the plants around the garden. Then, of course, with a pair of shears, if you've got things like soft fruit that are growing, you just come through with a pair of shears to clear away the grass, just to help keep the stems nice and healthy. So really functional, really fun, and also great for chopping up any kind of plant material before putting it on the compost bin, just to help it break down faster. And now it's time for the last tool. So it's Sam, no, sorry, it's not Sam. It's Sam who's going to introduce that tool.
The last tool is a really good stainless steel pan. Now you can use cast iron if you want, or if you, I would avoid non-stick. I know there's some like fancy ones that say they don't do leaching, but I don't think you can beat good old-fashioned stainless steel pan. The cast iron is also lovely, but it is more maintenance because you have to season it, make sure it doesn't rust. Stainless steel, you don't have to worry about that at all. This is one I use almost daily. As you can probably see, it's well loved. I always go for one with a little hole in the handle because it's really useful. I can then hang it in the kitchen on S-hooks, so it's up and out of the way, because everyone knows you run out of shelf storage everywhere in a kitchen. You can use this for so many things. It is so versatile. Whether you're searing, frying, sauteing, making some sort of bake, you can literally use it as a baking tray. I will quite often have tomatoes from the garden with a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, and put that under the grill, which if you're using a non-stick pan, that will damage it, whereas this can just take it. I would use this over, again on the topic of tomatoes, use stainless steel over aluminium. This handles acidic foods very well. Yeah, and you can do bakes, you can do high temperature cooking, low temperature cooking, you name it really. You probably can even use it for a stir fry, but just don't tell people that are like wok purists. Yeah, this is my go-to for all of the above. The only thing that I would ever say you need a different pan for is if you're making large amounts of stock, soup or jams. You need a much larger saucepan or stock pot for that, but this is the go-to for everything else.
If you're looking for a little bit of a different gift for your gardening friends, then for just 99p, you can get a nice A5 postcard signed by both me and Sam, delivered to your door, that you can then give to someone as a gift to say, hey look, I have pre-ordered you a copy of their book, How to Grow Food, which is our no-nonsense crop by crop practical guide to growing, cooking and preserving. So there's a link down below, and whilst you're waiting for that to arrive in the post, there's a video here that I think you'll enjoy.
What better tool than knowledge?
What better tool than knowledge?